just mixed feelings coming out of the game because coming off a really disappointing loss the other day against a team that outplayed us, and a relatively quick turnaround from that. We came out of the locker room today with so much energy, leaving the locker room to come up to the court to start the game. I was like, wow, what's going on here? They were really fired up to play. And you saw that the way we started the game. We played with a high level of energy, and it felt like in the game, to start the game, that the guys felt like, all right, tonight's going to be the night where we get over the hump and we turn the page and we start getting, this thing going. Instead of just saying, all right, it's going to be 40 minutes and we're going to have to play at a level. But I do think, the encouraging sign for the game, the thing that I walk away with against a good team is that for a period of time, we were playing at a level defensively that is indicative of what we want our program to look like. The program we're trying to build, and my message to the team before the game, they can't hear it now as much, is that I've got to do a better job with this particular group of making them continue to have a level of big picture thinking and not to wallow in the disappointment of us not being a finished product right now and not wanting the results that they may have concocted some expectations of. We just want to continue to grow so that we can become whatever it is this team is capable of becoming. And in the first half, we showed some signs of that. What would it look like if we became good? Conversely, of the last 15 possessions of the game, we only got 2 stops. And so that contrast, that's where we need to improve. The last 12 possessions of the previous game, we got 1 stop. So in their effort to come in and make up for that, they came in and they played with tremendous energy. Loose balls, rebounds, deflections, some real staunch half-court, committed, passionate man-to-man defense. And so there's something to build on there, and that's where we'll try to start from a focus standpoint tomorrow.
In terms of diagnosing exactly why the last 12, 15 possessions, the last 2 games haven't gotten many stops, is it fatigue? Is it just kind of being out of defensive design? How do you diagnose the finish in defense? That was a poorly worded question, but
it definitely was.
Yeah.
But I was going to let it go.
Yeah. No.
But the fact of the matter is, it comes down to toughness. But it also is a matter of growth. Like, we made a chart and put it on the board 2 weeks ago. And there was 2 columns. On one column, it was yes, and the right column was not yet. And the topics were, are we talented? Yes. Are we experienced? Not yet. Are we accomplished? Not yet. Are we tough? Not yet. Are we disciplined? Have we established an identity? And everything else was not yet. And if you go around the country and you talk to the top teams in the country, if you talk to Bobby Hurley, he's going to say we're a work in progress. Well, if Duke gets to be a work in progress, then who should we be? And so we need, in our gym and through that first half, to build expectations. We're not trying to live up to anything. We've got a group of guys who've never done anything in college, who've never played together before, and the guys who have returned haven't really done enough to really be considered experienced at this level. So even our most experienced guys, whether it's F.A., who's got a lot of college experience, hasn't done it at this level. Zach has a lot of college experience. Zurich, very little. Sam has been at a high level. So by and large, we're a work in progress, and we have the right to be that, and we have to be okay with that. as opposed to viewing ourselves as somehow being underachievers or failures or anything. Like, I'm trying to make sure that mentally that they don't do that to themselves. It's okay if other people do that, that's fine, we can't control that. But we can't do that to ourselves. So those last 12 possessions or 15 possessions in that poorly worded question, we've got to play like we did in the first half and use that as a point of saying, okay, we're capable of doing this. Now we've got to extend that. And now we got to finish a game like that. That's part of our growth, as opposed to the world is crashing down, and we've got to do a better job of getting them to see it through that particular lens.
You described this as, when you saw your team's energy early on, as a game when maybe they thought this would be the night they get over the hump, and it was against a team that came in with an 8-1 record, and you go to the locker room up 5. Is your message to the team about maintaining what they did, or trying to clean things up and make any changes going to the second half?
Yeah, it was about shot selection towards the end of the first half. You know, we had some really empty, poor possessions because they were making a bit of a run down the stretch, and we were trying to answer quickly instead of getting back to what got us in that position. We were up 11, and then they made a run and cut it to 5. And quite frankly, we didn't handle that well. It was like they were making a run, as good teams might do. And if you're playing in a good league like we play in, there's going to be teams that run. And it was almost like, tonight's our night, and you guys are spoiling it. Come on, guys. You know, that's how it kind of felt. And we started to tighten up a little bit, and we played it with a little panic at the end of the half. So that was the message, and we were trying to turn it back on the defense. The way we started the game defensively, we got to get back to that. And we do something called kills. You get 3 consecutive stops. That's 1 kill. I think we may have talked about this before. And we had 3 of them in the first half, but we were in the kill zone, which means we got 2 and we got to get the 3rd one. We were in that zone 6 times. So we were trending that way, and we didn't get any in the second half. That's the game. And they got to see that. It's not about individual performances or anything. It's that. And we can't lose sight of that.
In the second half, what did you see that kind of continued maybe some of that from the end of the first half? Was it shot selection again? Was it
Defense.
impatience?
It was the defense. It was the defense that bled into the offense. And in the first half, we were actually in transition some. We were getting down the court because we were getting stops, multiple stops. And we were aggressive in ball screens. We covered their actions, and we were getting the ball, and we were getting out and running. In the second half, we were getting less stops, and so we were always in 5-on-5, always in the half court, and laboring against denials and switching and all of these things, which they didn't play any different in the first half, but we were getting stops, and we were making them have to run back and guard, and so we were playing from a different vantage point, if that makes sense, because we were getting out in transition, putting pressure on their D. But their defense went up a notch because it's like in football, if you just keep putting your defense back on the field, eventually, it's going to get tougher, and I think that's what started that.
Here's my attempt at a better worded question. But when you have the first 20 minutes like you did, does that make preaching patience and, hey, we're still a work in progress, tougher? Saying, hey, how tantalizingly close we were in that first half?
I don't know if that question is much better. But no, it is. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I got you.
I would say no. I don't think it's tougher because listen, from a program standpoint, you have to have moments that allow you to display. Like, I can't come in the locker room and show highlights of Georgia State or Tennessee as a way of explaining to them what I want this to look like, how we need to compete and what we need to do to become the team and the program that we want to become. And we did some things against Louisiana and against Evansville in the second half and in the Dayton game for a period of time where we showed some grit and some toughness. And in the disappointment of some losses, we didn't go into the Texas A&M game with the kind of fight we brought tonight. And so the fact of the matter is the fight that we brought to the first half gives us a snapshot of, okay, we're capable of this, and you felt it in the timeouts. And so there's a frame of reference there that should serve us well, and that we can build on. And I think that's got to be the focus right now, particularly with a team that wants confidence. Well, you deserve that. If you play like that, you'll get confident.
Zach Nuttall looked like he fell early in the game,
Yeah.
and may have been laboring a little bit. Just looking at his body language, he was wincing a bit.
Yeah.
How limited was he on either end of the floor throughout the rest of the game?
Yeah, I haven't talked to Miles about what exactly he did there that was ailing him during the game. He was exhausted. He was playing a lot of minutes, and emotionally, he invested a lot in this. Like, he really is about it. You know what I mean? He's a wonderful kid, and I worry about him. You know, he gets so invested that I think he gets a little too down. You know, I think how do you get a kid not to be disappointed? Like, you want him to be disappointed, you want him to care, and then you want him to continue to bounce back, right? So he and Zurich and those guys, they brought some energy, and they created some high hopes there. But I think he'll be fine. I don't think there's anything serious there, you know.
Is there something you can do in practice or simulate anything to get that 25 minutes into a full 40 minutes for this group?
I think that is a byproduct of the totality of what you're doing, right? But it's so hard to get, and this is where I've done I haven't done a great job with these guys, is sometimes as a coach or as a staff, you can't take your eye off the big picture. And sometimes in the disappointment, you wind up too focused on what's going on right here, right now, without, there has to be a constant message about our growth and our process and what we're trying to become. And so you just have to keep hammering that home. One thing that does happen is when you have a half like we had in the first half, or a second half like we had against Evansville, or some stretches like we had against Louisiana, you can use video and you can use that evidence to say that we're capable of doing these things. And but in terms of doing it as a team when the lights come on, your practices are geared towards developing that. That's constantly what you're doing. And then you need a breakthrough. You need that breakthrough. Tonight presented an opportunity to make a breakthrough that we didn't quite make, but there's some stuff there that we can use.
Sam struggled with his shot from the floor, but he also had 12 rebounds, 4 offensive, a couple of assists, steal, a couple of blocks. How would you characterize his performance tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was tremendous. The shot thing has become mental with him, and he's such a talented guy that even with those struggles, that he could go out and affect the game in that way. It's a credit to him. And I think that's something he can do every night. But I do think sometimes he gets, because, nobody spends more time in the gym than Sam does. Some guys, when they're struggling, they act like something's happening to them and they just want things to change. But, at midnight tonight, he'd probably still be in there. He'll be in the gym tonight till 1 in the morning. That's what he does to himself. And so, you can tell him not to, but he's a worker. So I'm pulling for him. He shot a 3 tonight, and I don't care what's going on again. I just wanted to go in for the kid because he's trying so hard, and he's backing it up with work. He's not like just hoping things happen. He's working at it. So there's some anxiety around that. But while that's going on, to go get 12 rebounds and 4 offensive rebounds in the game, and he had a chance at a couple of putbacks, and You know, I hated when he missed the free throw, but I'm proud of him doing what he did tonight.